Hi guys, back here again. Today we are going to talk about Arsenal and their transfers. We also have two other videos coming in dealing with the transfer dealings of the other clubs. But today's video, right now, we're going to focus just on Arsenal and how their transfer business looks. And we're going to start off with their outgoings. First of which is Joe Willock. So I'm joined here with Karthik. So Karthik, please tell me, what do you think about this move, Joe Willock to
Uh,
Newcastle?
Great move for Joe. Great move for the Arsenal Academy. Great move for every club, for both clubs involved. To be very honest, getting 25 million for an academy player in this market, I doubt is a possibility that happens way too often, right? So I understand that Arsenal have been called out for holding off on players for their value, but eventually they have not used those players and their selling price has declined. Case in point, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So at this point, I feel that Arsenal did the right job in letting Villa go because he clearly doesn't seem to be figured out in Mikel Arteta's plans. And he's a great addition for Newcastle, right? He's scored 8 goals in 8 games, saved them from relegation. Why not? Good for him and good luck.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a fabulous move. Speaking of which, going back a little bit, William Saliba back to Marseille. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one in saying that when he first came to the club, we were all buzzing. That was again for the first time we were like, oh, this is a really, really good prospect. He's going to be a superstar going down. Unfortunately, emotional stuff. His father passed away, I believe, and he just the club just hasn't been able to reconcile that with him. There were rumors that he didn't get along well with the manager, and Arteta didn't want him at the club. Clearly, this transfer window, it's been quite obvious that Saliba wants to go back to France. He wants to stay in France. The management wanted him to stay in the Premier League, but he opted to go back to Marseille because that's where his heart seems to be right now. And I think sometimes we just forget the small things that these are still humans and they're still young, maturing people, and sometimes such events in life get in the way of your professional development, and you kind of just have to take it the way it is. So I just hope the best for him. And if he comes back next season and he's still not in the position to continue with the club, it might just be the best move to let the player move on and have the club go in another direction.
Like you said, uh, the intangibles are like really not measured, right? So it makes sense if he wants to go back for this season. But I am really hoping that he does come back because we certainly have a prospect in him, and I hope that we can sort out all the issues and maybe set egos aside. But hey, that's easier said than done, right?
I agree, completely agree. Heading on to a player where I don't see we have any ways of reconciliation, Matteo Ganduzzi. He is off to Marseille as well, but this time with an obligation to buy. I think this is a very good signing for Marseille. It's a very good signing for the club for not for any financial reasons, just to put the whole matter behind. The player still has some attitude adjustment issues, but clearly he feels more at home at Marseille, and I think he just needs the right kind of environment to let himself flourish because there is clearly talent in there. Just talent that unfortunately Arsenal probably won't be able to get the most out of. And another player, his partner came along with him was Lucas Torreira, who was still kind of in a limbo. So why don't you tell me about what do you think about that move?
Yeah. So I think it's really bad that we've put Lucas Torreira in a spot where he's in a limbo. I I am of the opinion that we actually made him look as a bad central midfielder, but he's not a typical central midfielder where he'll be giving out all those passes or making those fourth man runs every single time. He's more of a defensive midfielder who will do the dirty work, who will clean up, who will pass the ball quickly to your central midfielder or to your wide man, and they can take the ball forward. So maybe this is just a mismanagement of expectations, and I hope we can sort it out and Lucas can find a club that suits what where he wants to play.
Yeah, I agree. Great player. Wish the best for him as well. But those are the major outgoings. Now to talk about the good stuff, the major incomings. And the first and foremost, the duo of Ben White and Sambi Lokonga. Ben White clearly somebody brought in to start right in the first team, and Sambi Lokonga, I think he's more of a long-term purchase, but right now because Partey is out with an injury, he seems to have been thrust into that first team, and I think they're both pretty solid signings. What are your opinions on White?
Uh, I think Ben White is perfectly all right. We may have a debate over the transfer price, but hey, that's the English tax. I'm not going to comment on how much the English tax is, because somebody could say he's like rated more than by plus 10 million. Somebody could say no, he's not. He's been overrated by 20 million, but that's something that you nobody can define. The transfer actually makes sense because we don't have David Luiz right now, who was the most progressive play out from the back defender that Arteta actually wants. So Ben White in that way definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And as for Sambi Lokonga, he, to me, especially when I saw him play on the first day, he seemed more in the mold of Thomas Partey. He seemed very much like him as a player, which is what made me think that he's definitely there more of a backup as opposed to a first team starter. But boy, he's great on the ball. He's got lots of confidence. He hit the ground running, and obviously Thierry Henry has great things to say about him. Vincent Company had amazing things to say about him as well. And we got him for a great price as well. And he's young, lots of room to grow. So I am really enthusiastic about this transfer. And then coming down to a couple more transfers, which are almost done, not officially announced yet, but one that I'm really happy about, and the other one I'm kind of middle of the ground, mainly because of the price, is Martin Odegaard and Ramsdale. So Odegaard, I am happy. I am 50 million initially seemed like a lot, but now the deal seems much more realistic. I think that's a fair price to pay for a young talent who still has a lot to prove, but there is clearly a lot going on there. He was amazing on loan, and Arsenal desperately need more creative presence in the midfield. So I am all for the Odegaard move.
The other aspect here that I really liked about the Odegaard move is that we've played him with Emil Smith Rowe, and it's not been a hindrance to his development, which was supposedly the argument against signing Odegaard, right? That he's going to stop Emil Smith Rowe from playing his natural game. But we saw that in the loan that both of them could be on the pitch at the same time and contribute better.
Yeah,
I really like Odegaard for the fact that he's just 22. He's a national team captain. You have a leader in there already, and his gameplay. You've seen him on loan. He fits your manager's plans. He's been here with you for 6 months. It's not that he's going to take another 6 more months to adapt.
absolutely, and I think the tactical point that you made was really important, because I think the thing is that everyone thinks of both of them as attacking midfielders, but Emil Smith Rowe loves to drift wide, whereas Odegaard loves to stay more central, and he does more shuttling and more box to box running as well. So Odegaard also plays more farther back behind the pitch, whereas Emil Smith Rowe likes to stay high and up top, which is why I think they do still, even though they may seem similar, they actually do work side by side really well. So I think it's an amazing addition to a team that desperately needs that sort of creativity. And then coming down to Ramsdale, Arsenal keeper woes continue. We keep digging through and trying to find anyone who would take the job and do it well. And I think Ramsdale is definitely one of those players. I don't think he's a bad keeper, but I don't think it's a very ambitious move on the club's part. The only positive thing that I do have to say about it is that he's young, he has room to grow, and given Bern Leno's tenuous situation at the club himself, it's probably not the worst move that Arsenal could have made. It's good to have depth in a position which is basically so competitive and so important to your position in the league. So I'm not for the move, but I don't have much to say in the way of against the move. But there are still some deadwood that we do need to get rid of. So Arsenal does have a lot of players. I mean, they've made some good transfer moves, but a lot of this movement has been hindered by the lack of people going out of the club, especially players that definitely don't seem to be anywhere in the future planning of the club. And other players who are either getting too old in the team or are coming to the end of their contracts and just need to be shipped off and moved on. One of them, one of my absolute favorite players, unfortunately, Arsenal has not had the pleasure of having him play for us in his prime years, is Hector Bellerin. It's just a sad situation to what it's come to, but he definitely needs to be shipped out. Where do you see him going?
I think Hector Bellerin has been a model professional for us. I am happy that he's served 10 years. He's one of our most tenured players right now. If you noticed, after his ACL injury in 2019, it's been a little different. Maybe that we've also asked him to adapt more to a different role than he's actually used to. We've lost out on his pace as well. I think he needs a really good start. He needs a fresh start, and a fresh start is definitely a move away from the club. So anywhere where Hector could be of use, like there are clubs that are looking at Hector Bellerin. So I think that would make sense for him and for us, because clearly Arteta has lost a little bit of faith in him. At least that was observable from game week 1, where he didn't put in a right back, although he had 3 of them in his substitutes bench. So good luck to Hector, and I will always cherish the memories that he's given us.
Yeah, I mean, absolute model professional, and just hope the best for him. And then moving on to a couple of players where they have, again, they missed game week 1 because they were ill, and they're most likely to miss game week 2 for very similar reasons. And there is already a lot of controversy brewing as to why that might be, and it's a very weird situation to be in, where your two main central strikers, your two main goal scorers, are either refusing to play for the club or are genuinely in a situation where either the manager is not happy with them or they're not happy with the management, but something clearly is going on between Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Arteta that needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. Either the transfer window needs to decide something for them, or the club needs to fix whatever the situation is over there.
Um, I really don't want to add to the speculation here, because those are two of our stellar signings. I mean, big name signings. There's also talk about them being down with COVID but not being out in the open yet. So maybe that's definitely a bigger medical issue, and it needs that attention. If the club feels that things have to be kept private for a while, fair enough. But if this is just because of transfer speculations or some disagreement with the manager, then I think we are letting everyone know that there is a huge disgruntled backroom and playing staff. So
Yeah, it definitely does not look pretty. Especially Arteta's demeanor during his interviews. It does not look pretty. It doesn't paint a really good picture of the club or of the situation. And then the last player that I wanted to touch upon was a player who's seems to have stagnated since his arrival at the club, whom initially was touted as a very good signing, but now more and more as time has gone by, is more known for his errors in the back. It's Bernd Leno. Um, Ramsdale, clearly a big money signing for a goalkeeper in the presence of Bernd Leno. I don't know whether he stays with the club for any significant amount of time going forward.
So, the argument that we were having last season was, okay, Leno needs a good backup keeper, because we clearly trusted Leno to be our number one, and we got in Matty Ryan um, in January for a period of 6 months. The intention was probably Matty Ryan is going to be re-signed again as our number 2 choice goalkeeper, because Runarsson didn't really go according to plan, right? But Now with the Ramsdale move, I'm sure that Ramsdale is not a backup per se. He's going to be challenging Leno for the number one, and it puts the onus back on Leno to like get his act clear and get his act straight, or otherwise clearly express what he's feeling and figure out if there is a transfer that has to happen or if he wishes to like move on, because there's no point in being in this situation, which would eventually be a repeat of the Lucas Torreira situation, wherein your expectations are something else, and now your player is completely on a different profile. For example, a shot-stopping goalkeeper in Leno versus you want a goalkeeper who's like more comfortable in playing out the back, which Burned unfortunately isn't. So that's a situation that we need to resolve, and maybe Ramsdale is the answer that the club feels, and we might see Ramsdale being number one probably by mid-season or early next season.
I sure hope he's good enough for that position. But yeah, one last question to end up with. Real quick answer. One more player. If you had to bring in one more player, I would say suggest a realistic transfer that's still possible. What player would you bring in?
I would want a right back. Off the top of my mind, I have like two or three names. One is Leo Dubois from Lyon, and the second name would be Tyler Adams, but that is very unrealistic.
Yeah, no. If I had to go for it, I would go for Otson Edward. Guy's still on the market, and a lot of the small clubs are looking for it. I think we should jump on that move as soon as we can. But yeah, that was our transfer roundup for Arsenal this season. Still more transfer work left. So hoping that some more good business happens. Waiting for the Odegaard and Ramsdale signings to be made public. It's just around the corner. And yeah, here's hoping that Arsenal really make good use of these players and have a great season ahead. Thanks, Karthik, and see you guys. Please catch our other videos, part ones and part twos for the rest of the clubs in the Premier League. We're just going to go through their transfer news as well and see which teams have done good business, which teams have probably not done as much as they should have. Signing off. Take care and have a great day.
Bye bye.